All right, so some breaking news. As I was doing the stream talking about Enos Canner and all that, right? Um, this is from Trump's Truth Social account, and it says after lengthy deliberation and thought, and considering the tremendous talents of many others, he decided that the person best suited to assume the position of Vice President of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance of the great state of Ohio. JD honorably served the country in the Marines, graduated from Ohio State in 2 years, summa cum laude, and is a Yale Law School graduate. He was the editor of the Yale Law Journal and president of the Yale Law Veterans Association. JD's book Hillbilly Elegy became a major bestseller and movie as it championed the hardworking men and women of the country. JD has a very successful business center in technology and finance, and now during the campaign, we strongly focus on the people he fought so bravely for, the American workers, the farmers in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota, and far beyond. So, Tim Scott, yeah, don't worry. I'll be watching to see when and if Mindy Nose cancels that wedding on you, right? I'll be watching. But yeah, this is Trump's VP pick. This is the guy that defeated Tim Ryan in the Senate race a couple years ago. So one thing about Trump's picks would it be you have here for vice president? If you go back to uh, all his selections for judges in the Supreme Court with Amy Coney Barrett in the lower courts when he was president, these people are young. These people will carry in the courts lifetime appointments or whatever. Eileen Cannon, right? You know, early in the day, the news came out that she threw out the charges against Trump when it came to the illegal documents case. I mean, Clarence Thomas kind of threw her Easter egg, but nevertheless, Eileen Cannon went in and did Trump's bidding and throwing out that case. Now, in all likelihood, that case is going to get appealed, which is going to eventually make it back to the Supreme Court, but that's for another video for another day. But yeah, freshman Senator J.D. Vance, of all the contenders, the Tim Scotts, the Byron Donalds, the Doug Bergens, the Marco Rubios, or whatever like that, he was able to beat out all those guys. And he is the new running Donald Trump. The Republican National Committee extravaganza begins tonight on the 15th of July and will go to the 18th of July up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, given the events on Saturday where someone tried to really take him out, security is going to be extra tight. It is going to be extremely tight. And it's going to be on high alert given the events of what took place on Saturday out in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump's elections positions a vocal ally as a potential next vice president. The 39-year-old will be one of the youngest vice presidents in history if Trump gets elected. Let's see. So JD Vance wrote on Twitter or X that the central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. That rhetoric led directly to Trump's attempt at assassination. Now, there's no evidence that supports what JD Vance is saying. It's all projection and propaganda. but I don't support the Democrats, so don't get it fucked up. In selecting Vance, Trump assures that the Republican Party's 2024 ticket would have neither a woman nor a person of color in it. Some of Trump's advisors had wanted him to select a more diverse potential vice president to underline his efforts to expand the GOP's appeal to communities it has long struggled to win over. Well, so much for that. Trump just took a shit on all that. Vance illustrates that Trump remains unencumbered by the concerns that would typically animate a non-incumbent when selecting a running mate. Unlike former Vice President Mike Pence, Vance does not help Trump appeal to a wing to a party that he's trying to win over. Trump has more governing experience than Vance, who has served less than 2 years in the U.S. Senate. Because, like I said earlier in the stream, he defeated Tim Ryan a couple years ago. Tim Ryan was a guy who was in the House of Representatives, and he was vying to become a senator, and somehow J.D. Vance was able to beat him out. A generation ago, selecting an Ohioan would have been considered a potential move to win a key swing state, but Republicans have slowly remade Ohio to the point that Senator Sherrod Brown, who's up for re-election in November, is the only Democrat statewide elected official. None of the other reported finalists on Trump's list represented a battleground state in the 2024 election. During his Senate GOP's primary campaign, Vance apologized and said that he was wrong about Trump. The former president endorsement later capitulated or catapulted Vance into the U.S. Senate. Before entering politics, Vance cut his teeth as a venture capitalist, working closely alongside Peter Thiel. Thiel, who spent over $15 million on a super PAC to get Vance elected to the Senate, has reportedly said he won't donate to any political candidates ahead of November. In Washington, Vance quickly aligned himself with Republicans who wanted to refashion the more establishment-minded Senate GOP into a group in line with Trump. Vance has been a vocal critic of the Ukraine aid, which pitted him against Senate Minority Leader Dr. Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, or Mitch McConnell. The Ohioan has been deeply critical of the criminal prosecutions, becoming Trump's first potential VP pick to travel to Manhattan to show his support during the former president's criminal trial. Vance has even gone as far as to question Pence's belief that Trump put his family in danger on January 6th. If Trump wins a second term, Vance will be sworn in as one of the youngest vice presidents in the nation's history. Given that former president can only serve one more term in office, Vance will well be positioned to carry on Trump's legacy. And look, if Trump gets back in office, this notion that he can only run one more term, yeah, Trump might challenge that. Trump most certainly will challenge that. I won't be surprised if he tries to get that rule thrown out. And that way he will run as long as he can and hold on to that power as long as he can until the day he dies. And if by some chance that, J.D. Vance, ascends his way up to the presidency and Trump had all these charges levied against him, J.D. Vance will all but certainly give him a pardon. So there's that too. But that's pure speculation for right now. And that's something that we talked about down the road, if and when that should pass. But for now, this is the news that has came down on Trump's Truth Social account. For those of you that missed it, there it is right here. Straight from the horse's mouth. And Tim Scott, you did all that cooning all that buck dancing only to be treated as the horse's ass. So I'm gonna do a separate video about that, right? Because I told you, Tim Scott, I told you. Now, if you not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Last but definitely not least, shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Hard.